What's going on, bottom line viewers? It's Mitch with Dilly Vanilli. We're working around the clock, all sports, all the time. We're here to bring you an NBA recap. The Oklahoma City Thunder upset the San Antonio Spurs 102-92. And the Thunder take it at home, kind of surprisingly. I was expecting maybe even the other way around, a Spurs 10-point comfy win. But it turned out that the Thunder came to play. Westbrook got his 31st triple-double of the season, and I believe that's the third most of all time in one season, or he's tied for second, one or the other.
Yep.
Tied for second. So Russell Westbrook didn't shoot too well, but I think he played a good game, and we'll get into that. We'll get into all the stats and stuff. But overall, Dylan, what did you think of the game tonight?
You know, it was interesting. I was looking for the Spurs to play more as a team because that's usually what they do. And I was looking to see Russell Westbrook be the one man to provide the spark for the Thunder. And I don't know. I mean, the Spurs didn't play terrible. They just weren't able to make shots. They weren't able to do much after the first quarter. And for the Thunder, I guess they got a couple more things that were more reliable than usual. The Warriors are also the Thunder are like 25-6 when Westbrook has a triple-double, and they're like 11 or 6 and something when he doesn't. So they're pretty bad when he doesn't have a triple-double. So maybe his charge gave him something. I don't know, but was kind of disappointed in San Antonio, but they've also won 9 straight, so it's like, yeah, take your pick there. But an interesting game, probably one of the bigger games for Oklahoma City all season because they've been very inconsistent all year, and they needed a big win against a big team.
Yes, they did. They're still looking to fight for that playoff spot. It looks like they will get in, but you know they're still fighting for it. As for the Spurs, this does hurt them though. This is a loss that does hurt them because they're only 2 games behind as of yesterday against behind the Warriors. So they could have potentially caught up against the Warriors, especially with the game coming up between the two of them. But you know, this one does hurt them in the win-loss column for the playoffs if they wanted to get that number 1 seed. I said last night when I was talking about the Warriors game, number 1, number 2 doesn't really matter too much. It only really matters in the Western Conference Final if it goes to 7 games. That's about it. I mean, but other than that, it doesn't really matter too much. Diving into some of the stats, both teams, Oklahoma shot 5% better, 46.6 from the field. San Antonio, 41.7. Turnover-wise, it was actually pretty even. Now, OKC is a team that is driven through basically one player, and Westbrook often gets some heat for turning the ball over far too many times because he is the one responsible for passing, shooting, scoring, and rebounding on their team. So, yeah, he's going to turn the ball over. They had 11 rebounds, but surprisingly, San Antonio actually turned it over more. I guess it's not surprisingly because they did lose the game. 14 turnovers for San Antonio, 11 for Oklahoma, 48 rebounds to 40 for Oklahoma as well. And the Thunder really, that's one of their strong suits is their rebounding. Yep. I think they said that they ranked 2nd in the league going into this game. So that's definitely somewhere where they're doing well. But one place that I've watched the Thunder before, I've recapped Thunder games before, I think I did at least 1 or 2. But they don't shoot well. Like today, they were better than usual shooting. Like they shot 46%, which is better than usual. And they don't typically shoot well from 3. That has been their like worst, asset to their team. If they were better shooting from 3 as a team overall this season, they would be a lot better team because you have Westbrook who can drive in there. You have a couple big guys, Adams, who does occasionally, get inside. But they don't have any guys that can shoot from 3. In this game, they actually got some consistency there from one player in Oladipo who had a really good game. In my opinion, he shot 8 for 14, 3 for 4 from 3, had 4 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal, and overall he had 20 points. So he was 2nd in points and basically 2nd in every other category, 1st in threes. So he provided something other than just Westbrook, which is what they'll need in the playoffs. Also, Adams had 11 points, which was third on the team. He was 1 for 5 in the free throw at the free throw line, which is not good. But this was kind of this. I don't know if it was necessarily rare for him, but like you're going to need to make those shots in the playoffs, Adams. But he had 6 rebounds. He only turned the ball over once. Westbrook turned it over 3 times, but he had 23 points. He, of course, had 13 rebounds and 13 assists, which he led every single category across the board for the whole game.
Yep.
So that's typical Westbrook right there. Other than that, though, like I usually look at this team, they had 14 points from Cantor, who is I think it was Cantor.
Yeah,
14 points from Cantor. 11 points from McDermott as well. So they kind of spread it out. And usually when OKC does have that spread out scoring, like Dylan said, they're usually better. Usually any team is better. But specifically the Thunder, who usually don't rely on it, they rely on Westbrook, and more Westbrook. So it was nice to see them kind of spread it out. Anything that you saw, like anybody impress you, anybody kind of didn't look very good in your opinion for the Thunder?
I'll give you somebody that I actually like, and it's Steven Adams. A lot of people like him as a center. He's not technically one of the best, but his rebounding, I think, is quite good. He's athletic. He can make a couple shots here and there if he's in the paint, but he's very aggressive. I like that. He can go and get rebounds and is more physical. He's not just going to be like, the ball's up in the air, I'm just going to let it happen. So I like Steven Adams quite a bit. Oladipo, he's inconsistent, but he did have a good game tonight, which is, like you said, something they're going to need in the playoffs because it can't just be Westbrook. Oladipo, I thought coming into this season was going to be a big asset for him. Hasn't really done much, but if he continues with games like this against good teams like the Spurs, there could be some upside to that. Cancer, he just came back, I don't know, a couple weeks ago from his arm injury where he broke his arm. He's done quite good. I like Cantor. McDermott scored 11 points, which I know is not a lot, but he's been struggling a lot since, like even before he got traded from Chicago. So there's a couple people. I think Weber said at the beginning, he's like, he's surprised there's still a 35-win team considering the talent they have on here. But
yeah, they kind of have the names, I guess, but they just haven't been kind of producing. Like you said with Oladipo, they brought him in this season to kind of be like that second scorer since Durant left, and I kind of thought that this would be more him, like on a regular basis. I thought he would be scoring 20 points a game. Like 15 to 20 points a game, but it just hasn't really worked out that way for whatever reason.
Yeah. So it's weird. They've gotten the name recognition, but they haven't gotten the points. So if they can spread it out, of course, this is what I like to see, more of the spread out point system where it's not just Westbrook going for 45 every game and hopefully he gets a triple-double. But there was some good teamwork tonight. Sabonis, he did is that how you say it? Sabonis, whatever.
Yeah.
He did pretty good for his 20 minutes. So there was a couple of people that stood out for me that did good, and they're going to need them, especially in the playoff time.
Yeah, Sabonis was kind of working on that mid-range shot. That's what they were commenting on a lot during the game. One guy that's good in the mid-range shot for a big guy, that's Pau Gasol. Yes. Being a Lakers fan myself, I know a lot about Pau Gasol. We've loved him. We've hated him. At times, and now everybody seems to love him because he's playing great again. He's always been great, but at times when the Lakers were struggling, we would blame it on him more than Kobe because that's just how Lakers fans are. But Gasol 8 for 14, 2 for 2 from 3, and he had 7 rebounds overall, 1 assist, 18 points. Played a good game. That was off the bench.
Yeah,
he comes off the bench. Aldridge usually takes the power forward spot, and Gasol kind of plays center, power forward, kind of mix.
They're very awkward together on the court. Like I don't like Aldridge and him on the court.
This is why I say, Dylan, that I think that a team like OKC actually favors better against them than, let's say, a Warriors team, because I think the Warriors are a team that has like the small lineup that can just shoot and shoot and shoot. But with the Spurs, they're actually predicated, believe it or not, on their big men, which is Aldridge, Gasol, but they didn't used to be like probably 5 years ago. It was all about Tony Parker, a little bit of Tim Duncan.
One big man and Tim Duncan.
Yeah, that was really it, right? And they have Leonard, who's an MVP candidate. Didn't have his best game today. We'll get into that. But Aldridge and Gasol are kind of their primary scorers besides Leonard. So they like to get in the post. They tried to go one-on-one a lot in the post this game. Wasn't really working because OKC actually has some big guys that can rebound. Like we said, they're second in rebounding. They have Adams. They have Cantor. They have some guys that can defend and can play offense, inside. So they do favor better against a team like that, in my opinion, than a team like the Warriors. And of course, they have Russell Westbrook, so that doesn't hurt. But Aldridge, 8 for 14. Wasn't bad offensively. I mean, he didn't have a great game. I don't think anybody on the Spurs really did. But the one thing that I noticed about the Spurs, they didn't shoot well this game. They not good. They couldn't get in a rhythm, especially early on. Like it seemed like OKC really wasn't playing well either early in the game. But they couldn't, like the Thunder couldn't get in a rhythm. Spurs couldn't get in a rhythm. And it just kind of fell flat at the beginning of the game for me. Like it was kind of boring. Each team was kind of getting open shots and they were missing. I was like, what's going on? Like two pretty good teams here. And I just expected at one point for the Spurs to start hitting those shots. And it just never fell for them tonight. Leonard was 6 for 15, 7 for 7 from the free throw line. Only had 2 rebounds, only 2 assists, 1 steal, 19 points. Now, he led the team in points, but he did get injured at the end of the game, played 26 minutes total, which was 3rd on the team. And he's going to be back next game, they said. He didn't have his greatest game, and he didn't look like an MVP candidate in this game. But I understand that he is, and he has been one of the best players in the league because of what he can do at both sides of the floor. Mm-hmm. Personally, I think Westbrook has done more for his team, but that's just me. Leonard, is up in the conversation, though. So what did you think of the guys on the Spurs?
Well, to answer that question, to put that point into emphasis, would Westbrook's OKC team have 20 wins without him? I don't think so. Would the Spurs have 20 wins without Leonard? Probably. I don't think they would be winning as much, but that's beside the point. Leonard's great, though. His game on Monday was absolutely fantastic against the Rockets. For the Thunder, or excuse me, for the Spurs, I was expecting more. Mostly this team is consistent at passing. They're really good at the passing game on offense and making good shots. And like you said, they were wide open a couple of times, and they just weren't able to make anything. They were 41.7% from the field. Pretty mediocre. Aldridge, I think, is good at times. 17 points, second most, which is something I believe he was expecting 2 seasons ago, but it hasn't been really falling for him since he made the trade from Portland to San Antonio. Kawhi Leonard didn't have his greatest game. He was kind of off on some shots. Did make some good hustle plays, but wasn't necessarily like obviously this wasn't the game where I'm going to be like, that's the MVP put right there. Paul Gasol did really good. I think he was probably the only player that actually had a really good game tonight, coming off the bench, which is important. Again, like I said earlier, don't like the combination of Aldridge and Gasol on the court at the same time. I think they're very awkward together. So that's a key for that. But I obviously this team's going to rebound. They just played a 28-point comeback last night against the Sacramento Kings. So maybe there was a little bit of rust in there, or need a little bit of rest before their big game on Saturday. So maybe that's kind of a thing. They rested Tony Parker tonight.
Maybe they were looking ahead.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, they didn't have Ginobili, they didn't have Parker, but those two guys don't really play much anymore. I mean, they're kind of complementary players.
Yeah. Well, Tony Parker can play a lot, but God,
he can. But I think they really rest him until the playoffs. Yeah. Ginobili doesn't play at all.
Ginobili plays like 5 minutes at this point.
Yeah.
Maybe this was a rest game. The Spurs, I would have liked them to win this game because if they had won, they would be 1 game behind Golden State, and if they had won on Saturday, they'd be in the 1st seed. But maybe it doesn't matter. We'll see. But I still think it's going to be a great game on Saturday. Just like in terms of
that.
What's that?
We'll be recapping it.
Yes, we will. But in terms of this game, a little disappointing. Shots were open for the Spurs to to get it done, and I think Popovich might be a little bit upset because they could have had this game, especially against the Thunder team that struggles. So yeah, nothing too positive to say, but they're still obviously the second best team in the conference, and they got time.
Yeah, I think oftentimes in the regular season, just like in the NHL where it's kind of, 82 game season, long seasons, it kind of comes down, especially like right around this time, where the Spurs already know they're kind of locked up in their position. They're rather going to be 2 or 1. They might be looking ahead to the Warriors. They might be looking ahead to the playoffs, whatever it is. They're trying to rest their guys. They're trying to maybe work on some extra things. While the Thunder are trying their hardest, like right now, they did have a couple pieces. Like you said, Cantor kind of came back recently, and they're trying to implement some new pieces into their lineup as well, which I think has helped them a little bit. But also, they're trying their hardest to get in the playoffs, stay in the playoffs, and I just think that it's one of those games where you could see the effort from the Thunder that was just a little bit more from the Spurs, which did take into account, they won by 10 points. This is a Thunder game that is impressive, I would say. It is the Spurs. You did win this game. It was by 10. It was at home. I think it is an impressive win. But overall, again, take it with a grain of salt because this is an 82, game season. It's a long friggin' season. You have the playoffs ahead. And if this was the series, I think all money would be on the Spurs. So
yep, and it could very well be a series as well because they're
it
right
could.
Now.
And like I said, I'd way rather see this, even though the storyline is there, for the Thunder and the Warriors. I think this series would be a lot more entertaining just from a matchup basketball standpoint, like I brought up earlier.
Well, and we also saw what Golden State did to
a couple times.
A couple times. I think I'll be more impressed if the Thunder beat the Raptors at away. It's going to be next Thursday. So maybe we'll have to recap that game perhaps. But that's a game I'll be more impressed by because they'll be on the road. These home wins are nice, but the Thunder have statistically this year been awful on the road. So maybe I'll be a little bit more impressed at that time. But like you said, NBA's 82 games compared to like an NFL 16-game season where you're a little bit more
every
fearful.
Game matters, every game,
Yeah, you're a little bit more fearful if a game like this happens in the NFL. But in the NBA, Spurs are still good.
Bodo is in the chat. Of course, he's from San Antonio. He was a little bit worried about how they played tonight, but he said that Leonard is the best defensive player in the league. I agree with him. I definitely will agree with you there. Do I think he's the MVP though? I wouldn't say that.
I would put him second or third, honestly, in my opinion. Like it's between 4 guys, but I think Westbrook, if he ends the season with a triple-double, deserves to be MVP. I'm just putting that out there.
Yeah, and he also says, do you guys think that Manu is a Hall of Famer? I don't know. I wouldn't.
Tough. I would yes? Question mark. Like he wouldn't be first ballot, obviously, but he would maybe third or fourth.
I'm looking at his all-time highlights in his career. He's a 4-time champ, 2-time All-Star, 2-time NBA third team, NBA sixth man.
Hell, if Jason Terry's going to get in the Hall of Fame,
gold medal in the Olympics in 2004.
Gold medal.
I would say that. I would say no. I think it's borderline, but I think I would lean towards no. I don't know. He just never, when I watched him throughout his career, he just never screamed like one of the best players in the league. Like he was always a good player, and he was a part of a great team, but I don't know if he's a Hall of Famer. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, he did swat a bat live on the court, so that's impressive. But it's tough because you're like, oh, there was a great team with him and Parker and Duncan, but with Duncan, I'm like, no doubt, first ballot, get in now. With Ginobili, I'm like, third, fourth year maybe. Like a guy like Jason Terry is in the same boat. Are they going to be in the Hall of Fame for being set up 6 men or backup players? I shouldn't say Ginobili's a backup player, but he's not as dominant as some of his counterparts. So maybe.
Yeah, he said it's the Basketball Hall of Fame, so it also counts internationally. So internationally, he was the Italian League MVP twice. So I guess you have to put him in the Basketball Hall of Fame. I don't know his NBA career though. I don't know if I would put him in on just his NBA career. He says I would vote LeBron every year for MVP.
Oh God, LeBron.
Well, LeBron is the best player. Like he's been the best player for a long time.
Yeah.
I would just say that he's not. I don't know. At this point, you look at his team, and is he really the MVP? I mean, his team is really good. They can win a lot of games without him. I still think he's the best player. Yeah. Like Kyrie is great. I love
agree.
Kyrie. Kevin Love sure is a little inconsistent, but he has a lot of players around him that are pretty good.
Well, that's exactly – I shouldn't say that's exactly why he went back to Cleveland, but, LeBron wants playmakers. So,
you got to have playmakers to win. I mean, you're not just going to win with nobody.
I just love the mentality he gives off. But, yeah, Kyrie's he's one of the most underrated in the league. His handles are 5-star, probably the best handles in the league. And he's a great player. And then you got somebody like Kevin Love who, well, he's not as dominant, but they got a really good team.
Yeah. All right, guys. So this is the Spurs Thunder recap. The Thunder do take it 102-92. Hope you guys enjoyed this recap from Mitch and Dylan of the Bottom Line View. We will see you on Saturday, I think is the next one.
Saturday for us. I might have one before that, but we'll see. So stay tuned to the Bottom Line View for more NBA. It's Mitch and Dylan of the Bottom Line View. Peace out, guys. Peace.